During Donald Trump's presidency, much attention was brought to the media and its credibility. Constantly having a media presence, Donald Trump repeatedly accused news organizations of treating him unfairly and reporting, as he coined it, fake news. In retrospect, Donald Trump's distrust of the media is a common belief amongst Americans. According to the textbook, The Struggle for Democracy, 1/2 of Americans believe there was a bias in news coverage, and 2/3 of Americans say news organizations can't separate fact from opinion. Which prompts the question, to what extent does the influence of the mass media on Americans increase political polarization within the United States? Good morning, I'm Christian Reinhardt. To preface, the media serves a critical role in a democracy. First, the media simplifies the complex world of politics. Second, the media provides information on current events taking place. And perhaps most importantly, the media serves as a watchdog. The Struggle for Democracy explains that the media exposes government misbehavior and holds officials accountable for their actions. Without this, the government could extend its power indiscriminately, leading to what Alexis de Tocqueville in its book Democracy in America would call tyranny. In short, a democracy cannot function without the media. However, the influence of the mass media on Americans decreases their political knowledge and political efficacy, increasing the political polarization within the United States. Many Americans' use of the media decreases their political knowledge. Americans tend to avoid information dissonant to their political predispositions. According to Matthew Baum, this can be seen in two ways. And Matthew Baum's from the Harvard University. The first being selective exposure. Selective exposure is when individuals choose to obtain information that reinforces their political attitudes. For example, a conservative watching Fox News. The second way being ideologically driven credibility assessments. This is when individuals inadvertently determine the credibility of information based on its ideological reputation. For example, a Republican tends to critique a Democrat's argument more severely than an argument made by a fellow Republican. This data from the Pew Research Center illustrates this idea further. When the president from an opposing party is in office, we can see that public trust from the other party significantly declines. As we can see in the Obama administration, the trust of Republicans during that time period is significantly lower than Democrats. These two tendencies create echo chambers, a situation in which people only hear opinions of one type or opinions similar to their own. This is dangerous as it creates a blind cohesion of ideas where individuals lose their individuality. In this graphic from the peer-reviewed journal, The Cultural Evolutionary Trade-off of Ritualistic Synchrony, we can see the liabilities of this blind cohesion. First, we have harmful obedience, then we have conventionality, and third, we have groupthink. And in the context of politics, this can be seen as hyperpartisanship. A great example of this hyperpartisanship is the insurrection of the Capitol after the election of 2020. Donald Trump's accusations of voter fraud, as well as his presence in the media, provoked his extreme, hyperpartisan supporters to raid the Capitol, an event unlike any other in US history, ultimately demonstrating the negative implications of these echo chambers, as well as the prevalence of hyperpartisanship in the United States. Additionally, the content of the media decreases political efficacy of Americans. Currently, one of the leading theories explaining the effect of the media on political mobilization is the media malaise theory. Kenneth Newton from the University of Essex explains that this theory is the idea that the content of the media decreases political mobilization and civic engagement. The media often portrays political events like games, breaking down the strategies of each candidate and focusing on who is currently winning the race. And this can commonly be referred to as horse race journalism. Andreas Schuck from the University of Amsterdam explains that the significance of elections is undermined and voter participation decreases when elections are presented like this, causing widespread cynicism of the government. Data from the Pew Research Center shows the cynicism. Since the beginning of George W. Bush's presidency, we've seen a steady decline in the public trust of the government. In 2001, we can see that it dropped from 54% to 2021, where it dropped to 21%. Now, despite these aforementioned impacts of the content of the media, some alternatively argue that the media has a positive effect on citizens. Pippa Norris from Harvard University found that those who watch television news, such as C-SPAN and Meet the Press, were more likely to become civically engaged. While this is valid, the political climate of the current status quo would say otherwise. Most Americans watch news channels like Fox News and CNN. According to Forbes.com, the Fox News has the highest viewership of any other cable news channel. Thus, the effects of C-SPAN and Meet the Press are rather trivial. Furthermore, channels like Fox News and CNN compete, leading to what is commonly referred to as infotainment. News channels focus on sensational, drama-filled stories rather than informative news. And Donald Trump's victory in 2016 can be attributed to this infotainment. Because of Donald Trump's outlandish rhetoric and wild personality, he received significantly more attention than any other candidate. According to the textbook The Struggle for Democracy, Donald Trump received almost $2 billion in free media, while his primary party opponent, Ted Cruz, only received $313 million, ultimately placing someone in office that probably should not have been. To help reduce this polarization, my first solution is to repeal the 17th Amendment, that is, allowing state legislature to elect senators rather than by direct election. This eliminates the need to campaign and make a good impression for the media. In turn, in doing so, highly qualified senators will be chosen based on their merit, and a less polarized body of legislature would be created. However, a limitation to this is that amendments are extremely difficult to repeal or create in the US currently. My second solution would be to promote informative channels like C-SPAN. These channels have been found to increase civic engagement, so promoting them would promote increased viewership. However, creating this would create a government de facto endorsed channel where it probably wouldn't be trusted. Here's my works cited. Thank you. Any questions?
I do have two questions for you. Sorry, I'm scribbling notes. First question. What information did you need that you weren't able to find, and then how did you go about dealing with that?
Okay, so some information that that was really difficult for me to find was really quantifying polarization within the United States, because there's a lot of events that have occurred to show political polarization, but there wasn't really good data besides the public trust that I showed to show that there is polarization. So really trying to find that.
All right. And how did your conclusion or respond to any of the other research that you examined as you went through the process?
Sure. So some of the research, as I showed earlier, that the media has a positive effect on the citizens, I came to the conclusion that is valid research. A lot of that research, though, was in Great Britain. But I felt like because of the way the last 4 years, since 2016, really, since Donald Trump's victory of the election, I felt like the current status quo was really reminiscent of what this polarization and what the media really has done to help increase polarization. So it kind of, while I still thought the research was valid, I didn't think it really pertained necessarily to the United States as well.